So here we have our instructions for the shopping cart. So I'm going to go step by step. So the first one was to create a UML diagram with the following tables to support a shopping system. So over here, this is the diagram. So here is one, I made one for products, the cart table, the user table, the order header, and the order details. So I'm going to explain the relationship between everything here. So, okay, so where is it the user and the order header? So the user and the order header, each user can place many orders, but each order belongs to one user, which is a one-to-many relationship. And then we have the order header and the order details. So each order can have many products, and each product entry in the order details belongs to one order. This is also a one-to-many relationship. Then we have the product menu and the order details. So basically, each product can appear in many orders, and each order detail refers to one product. This is also a one-to-many relationship. And then lastly, we have the product menu and the cart. So each product can be added to the cart multiple times, and each cart entry refers to one product, which is also a one-to-many relationship.
Cool.
Okay. So the next instruction was to create the table from the UML diagram. So over here, I have the tables. Each one has the primary key. So the primary key just stores each product with a unique ID, and no two products can have the same ID. We have the voucher, which stores the product's name as a text, and then we have the price decimal, which stores the product price with two decimal places like 10, and then the dot 00 will be the decimal. So I'm going to create the table over here and run it. Oh, okay, the table was created. Next, I'm going to insert the data. So here I'm going to insert the products, which is Coke valued at 10 and chips valued at 5. And over here we can see the product over there. Next, I'm going to insert the user and the values. And here we can see the users with their values. Sorry. So the next instruction was to add an item to the cart. So add a Coke if the product does not exist, insert with one quantity. So over here, there's my statement. So here we're going to add Coke for the first time. So since Coke isn't in the table in the cart yet, we're going to create a new row, and the quantity will be set to 1 because it's the first time over there. And then next it says we should add a Coke if the product exists, update the quantity by 1. So here is my statement. We're going to add Coke again. So basically, the update cart set quantity finds the Coke row in the cart where the product ID equals to 1, and then it adds 1 to the existing quantity. So I'm going to run it, and we should see the quantity should be 2 now over there. The next question says add chips if the product does not exist, insert with 1 quantity. So here is my statement. Chips isn't in the cart, so we're just going to insert a new row with a quantity of 1. And as you can see over there, it's inserted. Next, we're moving on to the next instruction, which is remove an item from the cart. So here is my statement. Basically, what it's saying is the update cart set quantity equal to quantity minus 1. So this just checks if the Coke is in the cart and it has more than 1 unit. So it's obviously in the cart, so it's going to subtract 1 quantity from it. So if the quantity was 1, the statement wouldn't do anything. As you can see over here, the quantity decreased. And then The next instruction says if the quantity is 1, then remove the whole item. So basically, we're going to remove chips from the cart. So we have the delete from cart, where product ID is 2. It's straightforward. It's just going to delete the chips from the cart entirely because the quantity is 1. And now that entire row is being deleted. The next instruction. Sorry.
No, carry on. So yeah, just show me your checkout.
Okay, so the next instruction was the checkout. So basically, insert into the order header table user ID 1 or 2, date and time, and then user the above order ID, insert the cart content into the order details table and delete the cart contents. Okay. So here we have the first step. So the what new order is in the insert the values and returning. So basically this just creates a new order for the user ID, which was Arnold. And then the now just captures the current date and time. And then the returning order ID lets us use the newly created order ID for the next step. And then the next part over here by the insert. So basically the statements just copies each product from the cart into the order and then the join new underscore order to get the new ID, order ID. And then every cart item now belongs to that order for the new ID. So I'm going to run it. And then over here, we can see the order header. So here's the timestamp, the user ID, and the order ID. And here we can view the order details as well over there. So we are working with Arnold's order basically. Here is a statement that will just show us all the details of that order. So what this does is, before I run it, the order header just gives us the order ID and links it to the user. And then the user gives us the username of the person who placed the order. The order details just tells us which products were included and how many. And then the products menu gives us the name and price of each product. So I'm going to run it now. As you can see, it gives us the information over there. And then the next step was to delete everything from the cart. So here is the statement for it. So basically this just clears the cart out after the checkout. And when I run the select to view everything in the cart, it should be empty over there. Here we have the bonus where we had to create a function for an add item and remove an item. So here is my function for adding an item. So let me just highlight here. So here I created a function named add item with the input of p underscore product ID. That's just to add the product. And then we have the return text, which will just return the function into a string, to tell us what it did. And then moving on, we have our if statement over there. So basically, if exists, select one from cart where the product ID equals to p product ID, then. So this just checks if the product is already in the cart, and then the select one is just the placeholder. We only need to know if the row exists. And then the update just checks if the product exists. We must increment the quantity by 1 basically. And then we have our else statement over there. So the else is basically if the product does not exist in the cart, do the following. So insert into cart product ID quantity. This just adds a new row for the product and the quantity equal to 1 because it is the first time. And then we have the return, which will just tell us the item was inserted. And now I'm going to run it. And here we are going to test it. So I'm going to add a Coke. As you can see, item added over there. Now I'm just going to run everything. And now we can see that these items were added.
Perfect. Cool.
Now we're moving on to the remove item function. So basically, yeah, with the remove item function, I created the function and called it remove item, and it takes in one parameter, which is the product ID. Then the return, which will just return the feedback of the string into a string format, sorry. And then we have our if statement over there. So basically, the if statement checks if the product exists in the cart and the quantity is greater than 1. And then the update cart set quantity equal to quantity minus 1. This reduces the quantity by 1 for the products that have more than 1 unit. And then the return quantity reduced is just a feedback message. And then we have our else over here. So the else checks if the product quantity is 1 or less. And then we have the delete from cart. So this just removes the product from the cart completely. And then we have the return, which is just our feedback. So just to like summarize what this function is doing, the if statement just says if the quantity is greater than 1, reduce the value, or else if the quantity is less than 1, delete the product from the cart. So we're going to test it out now. And then I'm going to remove one item over here. There's a feedback message, and now we should see the quantity. The table row is being deleted.
Cool. Perfect. Well done, Katie. Yeah, you explained that well. It was easy to follow.